Okay, now they have passed back and forth. If you want to see when they first come in this strip about 30-45 minutes ago, it had tall warm season grass mixed with the cool season, and this is about their sixth pass. Let's see, it's probably the fifth pass because they started at the other end. I just walked this fence over. I just put a little slack in it, and you can, when you're not moving very far, these small herds, because it starts right there on the right side of them and ends here on the left side of them, you can just step it over, and time you get the other end and move this end over, then you can walk and step it over one more time and then move the other end and straighten it back out. And I give them, I suppose, 60 feet maybe, and they've made 5 passes, and as you can see, it's down about the proper grazing height. They're still tipping out of the top, and they're full because it was full when I let them in here, and it's warming up a little bit, so they're either gonna go lay down right off of this cell, and I do have access for them to walk back past the water tank and go under some shade if it gets, you know, back up in the 96 or so like it was yesterday. So this is moving cattle, is what I used to call it, and that confused everybody. So we started calling it intensive grazing. So then they thought, you know, they thought we surely were nuts and we was just grazing her off down in the ground and killing it. So then we decided we better add the word management to it, so we called it MIG when Jim Garish showed up on the scene over at Plenius. Management intensive grazing, and they still thought we was grazing kind of silly. And then I was gone for a few years, and the drought come, and I come back, and everybody that I had grazed with and everybody that I'd taught to graze and helped build their fences, and along there in the 90s, everybody that I had helped get started, their farms had horse weeds on them, and, you know, 5 foot tall, and looked like they'd sold their cows. And I started asking around a little bit, and they said, no, he just put them all, moved them from one, you know, all the different farms, and throwed them in one big mob, and he just he moves them around about every 90 or 120 days and gets all this regrowth. And so I guess I found out later they called that regenerative grazing, and that's when people start saying, you need to watch YouTube videos of Greg Judy. He can teach anybody how to graze regeneratively. He's a regenerative rancher. And of course, Greg and I went to grazing school. I think he went in 93 or not 90, yeah. I went in like 94, and of course Dennis McDonald and Alan Powell and Ben Coleman and David Schaefer and all them guys that, you know, they formed the Green Hills Farm Project group, I think, in like maybe in '84. I know it's about 40 years. So it wasn't long after that. I'd been grazing all that time, but I'd been doing it all wrong, and I'd met Joel Salton, and I'd kind of learned a few things. And so we started watching Greg Judy videos with my wife, Natural Grandma, and she learned from Greg Judy, which that makes her more modern, smart on this grazing, and she's been to Greg's grazing school. I highly recommend all of that. But I went to school under Jim Garish and Fred Martz, and when they had just learned about grass-finished beef, and Ken Sutter and some of those were starting to develop those plants and to process beef at U.S. Wellness Meats, I believe it's over at Canton. And so that was the history. Seen Ken Sutter at the Green Hills Farm Project group yesterday, and all of us are getting old. But it doesn't really matter what you call it. Now they call it amp grazing. These carbon cowboys got a new name for it called amp grazing, and it sounds kind of high voltage, and it is high density, and we're doing more rapid moves, and guys 30 years ago I had farms that I moved 3 times a day, and I listened to people tell me how nuts I was, and I did have a hard time getting the gain going, and it mainly was because the the genetics of the cattle weren't right. That's the main thing you'll learn from Greg and watching his videos. Is you can't just start with, you know, some big old tall 1,500-pound cow with a rat-tailed semi-tall cross calf on it and think that you're gonna do well out here just moving around. Y'all agree with what I'm saying at all, or y'all just gonna keep listening and not respond? But anyways, you have to get a smaller, more robust, you know, a little closer to the ground, a little bigger belly, a little slicker hair. You have to kind of develop your genetics to respond well and get fat on what you have. But it's a journey. It's a journey that's beautiful and it's interesting, and that's a little, you know, she's like 26 months old, and she's won't calve till fall, and she's over 30 months old, but she's out of Roman 12:2. Look that verse up. And she's very moderate, very thick with a big belly. She's bred to a PCC bull, a Kit Farrell bull, a Carefree Genetics, which on our farm is going to end because he got hit by lightning, but that's sad. He was pretty carefree bull too. He's pretty and he's slick haired and he was thick and he stayed by himself. So I guess that's how he died, is by himself. But you have livestock, you're going to have dead stock. So been doing lots of shorts because that gets us lots of new people. I hope you short people have come and checked on those videos, and you'll come and see some of these. That we do take care of our cattle. We're not immune to the feelings of animals. We just understand that God taught them more about being a cow than I can ever show them or try to mold them into. So work with nature, not against it. Have an enjoyable day. Enjoy the little things in life, like new babies trying to find their mama. That's the calf that's 2 days old, and his mama is a I think she's 1/8 or 1/4 Charolais, and she is an own daughter of the bull Triton that, you know, that's Roman sire. So that calf is a little PCC Farrell calf. He's kind of what we're getting to. We got mush rush genetics out of our old Red Angus that were fairly moderate, and now we have Kit Farrell Red Angus mixed in there, and you know that cross should be slick haired, should be adapted well to management grazing, and we should just get better. The reason we call it adaptive is because every day it's different. I heard Ken Sutter say that yesterday. In 40 years of messing with this, he should have wrote a book or a pamphlet on how to do it, but he said, you know, the funny thing about that is what you learned last year usually doesn't apply to this year, and maybe what you learned this month don't apply to next month. And you have to be out here with the cows, read them. I think you can tell these cattle are content. Their bellies was full when I give them the grass. They have fresh, clean water just a little bit behind them. They have a place they can go shade if it gets to be 95 or 100 and I'm not out here. But they don't have to go there because they have everything they need out here. You can see they're headed to go get a drink right now. Everything is out here for them to be a successful cow. Plenty of foliage, fresh, clean water, fresh grass fairly often, at least once a day. Sometimes we do them 2 and 3. And I just set the saddle up according to what I think I have time for. So lots of words. When I preach at Eastgate Tent Revival, they say I have lots of words. Hopefully they're good words that you can grow from. So at Natural Grandma, Papa Hank, giving you a pretty view of amp grazing, where at Natural Grandma we are making our roots so deep you can see the devil. At which point I would tell him to get lost, because John 16:33 says that he'll be around and cause a lot of havoc. But Jesus defeated him. What do you think about that, amp grazers? Carbon cowboys. I wish you was having this great of a day. Natural Grandma.